I've heard all these stories before. But you guys are so blessed to be hearing them from Richard for the very first time tonight, and to be able to have Elizabeth Emanuel and Richard Dalton in the same room. You're literally getting a treat from royalty. To be able to preserve history like this is such a gift, and to be able to share it with everybody and to preserve it. So
And Renae, you have a very memorable story of when you first met Diana when you were just 12 years old, actually on that first tour.
Yeah, I did. I was one of those girls that were so excited. It was the kids come out to meet royalty tour, and so I was one of those kids. And I remember going on a field trip, and Diana was on my side, because when Charles was on your side, everyone didn't want to be around Charles. They had to be on Diana's side. And I was blessed enough to be on Diana's side, but she came out, it was all this paparazzi, and she stood right in front of my face. I looked up and I was speechless for the first time in my entire life. And she waited. She didn't just walk by and shake your hand. She literally waited, looked in my eyes, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, there's my princess. She's right here. And with that, I didn't say anything. So then I was annoyed with myself because I didn't say anything. So I ran under the barricade again, and I'm running behind the royal procession, lady in waiting, and Charles and Diana. And a friend of mine says, oh, Renae, she's dropped something in the dirt. And I bend down and I pick it up, and it's this tiny little clay platypus that someone had given her. And I ran over to a policeman, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to give it back to Lady Di. The policeman's going to open up the door, and I'll get in the Rolls Royce, and I'll give it back to Diana. And he basically did the best thing he could ever do, which he closed my hand, and he said, she must have dropped it to give it to you. And with that, this tiny, I get emotional really, like thinking about it. She had this incredible gift to make you feel so connected with her. And so I've held on to this tiny little clay platypus from the age of 12. 35 years went by, and you couldn't have even told me I would be in a position where I was collecting pretty much all of Diana's old historic real items that she's worn, 2,700 of them in one place called the Princess Diana Museum. I felt there was a period of her life after the divorce and her death that there was a lot of pieces that were being sold at auctions but being scattered aimlessly kind of around the world without any true meaning behind them. And so I felt compelled, and it was that tiny little clay platypus's fault, I never figured, to put them all back in one place. And so I've created a foundation called the Princess and the Platypus Foundation, and it's to honor children's charities, because I also own a preschool in Los Angeles, and to give back to children in charity format in her honor and her legacy, but also to inspire younger generations, honestly, that weren't around when she was alive, to inspire them to be able to understand her true life and legacy.
And you even got the blessing of William and Harry for this museum.
I did. I would not have done what I did without asking their permission. So I did write to them very early on, and I told them the platypus story, and they wrote right back, and they said, I told them about starting the foundation and the museum, and they said, we can't get involved in the charity right now, but we give you our blessing. And so they were involved in other charities at the time, and I said, that's fine, as long as I get your blessing. And so they did. And that's what got me going, and I haven't stopped since. But yeah.
And you developed a wonderful friendship with Richard, and so excited to announce, I think, for the first time that you all are working on
That was after the kitchen sink question.
Yes.
We have to share. We had a mutual friend that told me the story, so I didn't really know, but the mutual friend told me, and I literally was like, they open up the questions to all the people, and I was like, hi, I'm Renae. Can you tell me what it was like washing Diana's hair in the sink? And he just went, how do you know that? But I loved hearing the stories, and I think that's what is really so wonderful, is to be able to preserve the stories from people that really did know her, like Elizabeth and Richard, and preserve them. And so part of the project of the museum is I actually interview people so that they will share their stories about their life with her and the item in the museum. So that's kind of a connection, a personal connection.
And it really struck me when you were saying that when she spoke to you, really you felt connected. And I think that's something that you guys touch on as well. And if, I think before we open up to questions, if you could each maybe just say like what she had that made her so special and that made even a little 12-year-old girl feel so connected to royalty.
It's really hard to define. Some people just have this, sorry.
Make sure everyone hears you.
Some people just got that something that makes you feel very comfortable, that they're really sort of focused on you and they're talking to you, that they really care. And she was an extraordinary person. I've not met anybody like that, really, that immediately makes you feel comfortable and, that you're with a friend. And that's That's how I remember her, really. Just, I know airs and graces, no nothing. She just, you know, there's a person that would race up the stairs to say hello to everybody, and say hello to our kids, and, you know, just everybody loved her. That was just her nature, very good-natured.
Richard too, yeah, that ability she
Yeah,
had.
she was extremely special. You know, I've never met anyone, and probably never again. But her beauty was from inside as well, because I would do her hair, as I say, every morning. And she was more beautiful in real life than she was actually on camera or paparazzi. She was like stunningly beautiful. And my other favorite was Princess Grace, and her and I had this thing going on. You know, it was, you know, and she actually, the night she wore the black dress, was the night she met Princess Grace.
Yeah, there's some wonderful pictures there.
That was our first meeting. But I think Grace understood the truth of being a princess, and tried to guide Diana in that sense.
I was gonna say,
And
yeah.
I think the way that Grace's life went was tragically like Diana's.
Yeah, it did sound like she made a real impact on her early on, meeting
Yeah.
Miss Grace.
But you know, the sad part I think was first solo engagement was that morning that she flew to Monte Carlo to her funeral. But it was like in Monte Carlo with, I think Carolyn Walker did the dress. And I said, you've got to have a long scarf, like, you know, Cary Grant was in the movie with her. So she said, I'll go and get the scarf. So she had that long scarf, and To Catch a Thief, I think it was. But we tried to, you know, and again my mentor was Monsieur Alexandre, who was a long hair specialist, which I like to think. That's why I get my hands on Catherine's hair one of these days.
And it's such a treat to have you all sharing your memories and your experience with her, and keeping her legacy and memory alive. And I'm sure there's some questions from the audience, so.
Let's raise your hand.
Elizabeth, now when Diana,
Hi. Now, Elizabeth, when Diana called you to design her wedding dress, did she come to you with any kind of ideas on what she wanted? Or did she kind of have sole trust in you and you kind of showed her some ideas? How did that work?
No, she absolutely trusted us. I don't think she had any idea in her head. But I did lots and lots of sketches for her, and we showed her also a array of dresses ready to wear, actually, wedding dresses. And there was one that really caught her eye. She tried on quite a few, but this one dress, she tried it on, it looked amazing. It had big puffy sleeves, tiny waist, you know. Actually, it was the template. It was the template from which we built the royal wedding dress. It was based on that, but with like 50 different layers of complication on top of it, so nobody could copy it. So it's what it's like really with, although a lot of brides do have an idea, you know, we want big skirt, we want this, we want that. But I think Diana sort of knew what our style was like, that it was very romantic and over the top. So she wasn't a shrinking violet, that's for sure, you know, she wanted something dramatic. And yeah, but it was, so she didn't have an idea, but I think a lot of it is trust, you know, and she liked our style. And we were good at that sort of thing, really.
You mentioned that you got the lovely note that they liked Diana in the black dress. I was wondering if the palace gave you feedback on any of her other looks, and if you felt like you ever had to please the palace more than you had to please Diana.
We had no feedback from the palace at all on anything, it was quite distressing really in the beginning, because we hadn't done anything like that before. We didn't know what to do, there's no protocols, nothing. And so we had very little support from the palace. And I honestly don't think they expected such a huge public reaction to it. You know, they just, I don't know, they just underestimated the effect of Diana, and the public's interested in her. And so we had no help. We were getting mobbed by everybody. We had all the press trying to find out what we were doing. They were going through our rubbish bins. We had to put up blinds on the windows because we had journalists with long-range cameras trying to see into the studio. In the end, it became a bit of a game, to be honest. We used to, leave false trails for them and stuff like that. But yeah, it was an interesting time.
Part of the reason you wanted to create the backup dress.
Yeah, because what if somebody had guessed that dress? There was lots of rumours going around. There was a whole piece in Women's Wear Daily where they had guessed it. They told, well, we know what the dress is like. The lace is made by some fishermen's wives in Cornwall, and it's and this whole description, and it was just so not true. And we told them it wasn't true, and they got very cross with us about that. But no, nobody did. I mean, really, it's amazing. I mean, thank God there was no mobile phones, or there was nothing. There was no social media. There was nothing, which helped keep the secret. Because nowadays, I don't know what would happen.
Right.
Really.
Now they don't announce the designers of the wedding dresses until the day before.
That's
or
right,
the day
because
of.
they don't want to put anybody through what we had to go through. So it was a big learning curve for us. But we made it, we did it, and the dress was secret right until the end, so that was good.
The press used to chase me, bang on my door, talk through the letterbox, and then the next day you'd see only our hairdresser knows for sure. What do I know?
Because they are relentless sometimes, the press, aren't
Awful.
they? Yeah. And they were after our girls as well, and our girls were fantastic. They were offered loads of money if they would give them some information.
Yeah.
And we all loved Diana so much there was no way that any of us were going to disclose anything. So
It's like the time she danced in Covent Garden with Wayne Sleep, and I knew months in advance the secret rehearsal, and she said, "You're the only one that knows." I thought, God, if it's such a thing, I've told it. So I knew the whole thing, but that night I was in Covent Garden, and I was so hot. Oh God. And I knew what was going to happen, and I was like, oh God, I can't keep the secret anymore, it's out.
But you can keep it secret. And for those who don't know, Richard really hasn't spoken about his time with Diana at all. And
No.
so it's such a real treat to have you here to talk
Thank
about
you.
your experiences, because I know you don't do that.
I know it. When the press asked you, well, put this secret and that secret, and I used to say, well, what if your hairdresser told the secrets about you? Would that be front page?
But you are
really-
now with the book, right?
That's-
You're coming out of the
But
book.
that's not salacious gossip. Yeah.
And what's it called, Richard?
It's called
Share it
All
with
About the
everybody.
Hair in My Decade with Diana. See, got it right.
Yeah. And we've been collaborating together, obviously, for the museum for a decade. Richard and I have known each other for over 10 years, and like I mentioned, I feel it's really important to be able to preserve the history with these, very iconic figures while they're still around to share them. And I've recorded Richard and Elizabeth and over 50 other people that have all worked with Diana. And we got talking, and so he finally trusted me enough to write his book. And so it's a coffee table book, and it's also going to interact with the museum pieces that we've acquired. So, for example, there was a pair of earrings that Diana was wearing, and she had the long hair. It was a gift from the Queen. So we acquired those earrings. So we're going to be putting an image like that in there, so you can actually click on a QR code for all you younger millennials. And you'll be able to see it, and it'll be interacting, so you'll be able to go to the museum and see the pieces and get more history about each item. So we're excited to be releasing that around September, hopefully, around the anniversary of her 27 years of not being with us. Yeah. Celebrate her life.
We'll be reading.
Yes, exclusive with people, obviously.
I'll be back.
Well, thank you all. If there are any more questions, this has been such an amazing chat, and appreciate you both being here, and you too, Renae, for bringing this dress as well. And please go up and take a look at it close up, just the intricate detail. It's just a work of art.
Yeah, she fits into two big pink suitcases to go back to Los Angeles after tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
expression that are on, including the people expression. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, have you guys made the shot?